Welcome back, podcast peeps. What's up? Missed you guys. It's been a long time since we all got together. It was a different year. And we're actually flipped the calendar into 2018. Brand new edition of My Fantasy Podcast for a brand new year, brand new season of My Fantasy Podcast brought to you by myfantasysportstalk.com. Big changes coming in 2018. We promised you that a couple of weeks ago. You'll see that as the year moves along here, as the weeks move along here, and even notice a few little tweaks and some new things on the podcast this week. So thanks for joining us. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Reid, and my next host, my co-host, is the new MFST Fantasy Football Champion. His name is Dan Chalk. He goes by the Man, and he insist that we call him the Man now.
Yeah. Thank you. I know that clapping. Calm down. Yes, thank you. Okay, yeah, it feels good. 2018, welcome. We all knew it was going to be here. Me, the champion at the end of the season. We knew it all season long. If you followed the podcast, you saw the domination, you heard the domination, and the domination continued until the championship game, where I dominated. So. It feels good. For those who listen to this site for fantasy advice, this year's champion and last year's champion, our own new breed, took home the title. So we have a bunch of winners on here, and you should listen to us is basically what we are saying.
Feels so good, didn't it, Dan? Because you were so pissed last year when you had to see me win the championship, when I barely deserved to even be in the playoffs. I was that wild card. So I know that hurt. And
yeah, it was rough, especially just because, losing the championship game, I think I scored like 84 points or something in something terrible. So my team just didn't perform. So I was a little nervous this year because I had the best team last year. We all knew that too. But I struggled in the playoffs. But this year, my team, in large part to my two running backs, Todd Gurley and Kareem Hunt,
that's what won you the season, basically. You nailed the running backs. I don't think there was, Kareem Hunt had his slippage, towards the end of the season, but Gurley was probably the number one running back, right? I mean, him or Le'Veon Bell, and I would probably lean towards Gurley.
Yeah, I think it was actually Gurley and Hunt won too.
Hunt just went off the first, 5, 6, 7 weeks.
And he had a good end too. When you were predicting that demise. He came to life a little bit. They just need to give him the ball. I mean, we look at the playoff game, 6 touches, I think he had, or something like. He barely touched the ball, especially in the second half. So Andy Reid just needs to get him the ball, and he produces on the field. So I got lucky with those 2 picks. And just the rest of my team was pretty solid overall depth. But it was good to win. And good to win over Malachi, who's another writer of MSF with MFST. So good overall.
So, guys, this is really not the way I wanted to start the new year, the new podcast, season 3, episode 1. Is I'm going to have to be on here, and I'm the low man on the totem pole. I don't really know if the people should even listen to me. I'm just going to kind of host the show and then pitch it to you guys, because Orlando, which we'll bring in just a second, is our Pick'ems champion. I won zip. I won zero. I won zilch. You guys, I'm going to have to share the spotlight with you guys and hear about it all season long until next football season, that you guys took home the titles for the podcast. And I'm just sitting here.
Yeah, you had that lead too. I mean, you were basically the leader all season long with that pick'em piece. And at the end, Orlando kind of came out of nowhere. He just, I don't know what he did. He kind of prestige worldwide at us. Dakota Day, the worst fantasy football owner in our league, who have somehow got first overall seed. Orlando just kind of snuck up, and at the end, he was just there. So, props to him, I guess. But I'm going to say that was more of a new breed cracked under the pressure rather than Orlando bursted to the top. What do you think about that?
It was twofold, because number one, and you'll admit this, I think anyone has to admit this, this NFL season was nuts. It was just crazy. You never could tell week to week. There was going to be upsets you didn't see coming every single week. I really didn't think Cleveland would go 0-16. Just different things like that. it really got me. And then the second part of that is I told you, man, I told you as soon as that Jesse James touchdown was called not a touchdown that I was done with the regular season. The NFL really pissed me off with that. Then it happened again in that it was the Buffalo Patriots game. That one may not have been, as to me, for sure 100% a catch like the Jesse James one was, but it's just the point of the NFL. They implemented that rule, several years ago, and I know exactly what it is the implementation of the continuation of the catch. That's what needs to stop. You're being way too critical and way too scientific with these replays. Let's just stop it there, make your rules as far as, they need to stop it with a football move, the catch. 2 hands securing the ball, 2 feet or a knee or a hip on the ground, make a football move, and then it's over. The Des Bryant catch would have been a catch, but now it's that continuation of it. So what? It bobbles in his hands a little bit after he's in the end zone by 3 yards and hits the ground. He caught the ball on the 2-yard line, 1.5 2 yard line, 2 feet down, made a football move into the end zone. It's done there. It's done to me. So that's what needs to change. And they can easily take that out because they easily implemented it back when, the Calvin Johnson week 1 we saw was it didn't take long to see that rule in effect. And that's where I kind of bailed on the NFL season, Dan. I did not really watch much football in the NFL the last 3 weeks of the season. So Orlando came from behind, took the lead. My last week, I don't even know what my last week of picks were. Did you even add it up, Dan? Because it looked horrible.
8-8 you finished, and Orlando was 12-4, so that's how he ended up taking home that crown. He had the best week 17, because I think going into week 17 you were down 1,
so he ended up winning by 5.
Yep.
Wow. So no further ado, let's just introduce the other champion to the podcast, the Pick'ems champion, our man from San Ann, Orlando Torres. What up, dude? Congrats.
Hey, what's up, fellas? Happy New Year. How's it going?
Why you got to do that to me? Huh? Thought we were friends. Why you got to do that to me?
I had to counter back with something. I needed to give me some bragging rights on a podcast for the meantime.
You do, and you did. And now we all have at least a title under our belt. And so recognition, name recognition. And I think it speaks for the podcast and speaks for the guys on this podcast. But I hope you guys aren't eyeing that NBA title because that is mine.
Have you looked at it? I mean, that's just another dominating Dan sport. I mean, it's basically mine again.
I don't see that at all. That's totally not the way I see it. I got guys hurt a lot.
The points.
I'm not worried about the regular season. Did you notice I stole Markelle Fultz? I know you're going to try to pick him back up. You drafted him 8th round, dropped him. He's coming
back. Who knows
back.
if he even plays again this year? He was garbage when he did play, and he's probably going to be garbage now that he's playing for an owner like New Breeds.
They'll work him back in. It's going to be fun, but I'm playing for the playoffs. And Orlando's record is right there behind us. I noticed that Orlando's keeping up this year too. So it's going to be interesting playoffs. All 3 of us that might be the first time in any MFST league that all 3 of us have been in the playoffs, I believe, because Orlando didn't make the football last year. I didn't make the football this year. Orlando, you didn't make NBA last year either, did you?
No. I really tightened it up this year, really holding it down every day, keeping up on anything I can. So, yeah, I really tightened it down, trying to keep up with everybody. It's been fun so far. It's been great.
So I hate to even go here, Orlando, because, God, I can only imagine the response we're about to get. But Dan is really the only one that's been in every playoffs that we've had so far.
I didn't know how to say it. I didn't know how to put that out there to you guys. So I'm glad you brought that up. And, that just brings a nice smile to my face. That's all I'll say. I'll just smile.
I bet it does. But that's great. That's great. Good for you. Good for you. I still think you've altered some rules around here. So I think you analyzed the football rules to see you just made little subtle changes, which we're going to have our committee meeting in July and straighten all that out. And let's not forget last year in football, how you even got to the championship game. I do not know.
Don't even. That was ESPN, baby.
Yeah, if in case the people that are at home forgot, what was it, like a half-point swing? You lost by half a point, and then mysteriously 4 or 5 days later, hey, guess who's in the championship?
That correction.
Oh yeah, stat corrections. Yep.
I'll get you every time, and I'll take it.
So who did you beat? Who did you knock out? Who was that?
Jeremy O'Neal. Yep.
That sucks. I would be protesting, but that's what happened. Anyway, so today, guys, for the first episode of season 3 of the podcast, hey, can you guys believe that? Season 3, damn.
Feels good. I like it. 3 years.
And give it an applause. That's great.
3 years doing the podcast. We did it bigger last year. We're going to do it bigger this year. So, but anyway, here's the rundown for this week's podcast. We'll, of course, talk about the national championship game that was played on Monday night. Hell of a game. Really only about the third or fourth college football game I've watched all year, to be honest with you. But it was a great game. We got a whole lot of NFL mailbag questions to get to, and even some NFL draft talk, which that's coming around the corner very quickly. Dan's already watching film. So we'll talk about that. We also got some NBA talk. And then we're going to add our little foodie question in. We like to throw these in here. And I guess the listeners and watchers of the podcast like to throw it in there too. They're like, okay, enough sports, guys. Let's get to what's really important here and know our taste in food and what we like. So we'll talk about that. And this is a very interesting one. So all that on the podcast. Plenty to talk about today on season 3, episode 1. Thanks for joining us. Let's talk about the national championship game. This is my fantasy podcast, myfantasysportstalk.com. And hey, Dan, also, before we get too carried away here, new changes to the site coming up soon. The folks at home will be seeing that. So a few tweaks in here on the podcast, a few tweaks there on the website.
Yeah, we're in the works, the beginning stages, I would say, after a little bit of planning to start to get the site just redesigned, kind of like a facelift. You know, now 3 years on the podcast, I think the site's been around about a year longer, so we need a facelift. We're kind of like a 52-year-old woman, and we just need to get it tight, and that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna be getting it tight.
I'm not touching that one. Why you had to go there, but
that was we're just check out the site for the tightness.
For the tightness, okay. Check out the site for the tightness. That's going to be our new slogan too. The tightness, MFSD, the tightness. I like it. Okay. Brandon Reid here, Dan Schalk there, and Orlando Torres is there. So let's kick it off, guys. National championship game, all SEC national championship game. And I got into a Facebook debate, which that sports talk group, Dan, will do that to you. I don't know why I get sucked into this crap. But someone said college. Well, first of all, let me back up. Like before the game, I had people telling me that Alabama did not deserve to be in the playoffs. So let me get your opinion on that, Dan. Did Alabama deserve to be in the playoffs?
Yeah, I mean, especially if the other option was Ohio State, who lost not only one more game, but lost to Iowa by like 40 points. So
what about Wisconsin? I think that's the fans that had the gripe, and I believe it was Wisconsin fans that were going so hard at me.
Yeah, but their loss, overall, I just think the strength of schedule, when you look at the SEC compared to the Big Ten, I think Wisconsin's only loss was in that Big Ten championship game to Ohio State. So I mean,
they only beat 2 top 25 teams. They didn't beat anybody inside the top 19. If you exclude the bowl game against Miami.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely had. You can make a case for them, but they weren't even 5th, right? They didn't even finish 5th in the college football playoff ranking. So the committee didn't think of them that high. I think Ohio State was 5th, so they even had Ohio State over them. So Wisconsin would have to jump even more.
UCF finished ahead of them too, because the UCF finished 6th, I believe.
Yeah, well, this I'm saying before the bowls,
gotcha.
Going into the college football season. So yeah, I mean, if anything, after watching UCF, beat an Auburn team, I would say they have more of a gripe than Wisconsin does for getting in that playoff. Just the undefeated team. I understand the schedule, but that team was pretty special. I mean, they were playing above their talent level a lot, and they have a lot of good players on there. But overall, I think Alabama was the team that deserved to be in. It's Alabama. They have the players. They have the coach. They have the tradition. You don't want to look at past years, but you just know an Alabama team is going to perform in the playoff, and if they get in there, they have a legitimate chance to win it. If you put Wisconsin in there, there's no way Wisconsin's winning the national championship.
And that's not what I heard from this fan. They said, and I quote, Wisconsin would curb stomp Alabama.
That curb, I would like to see that with the curb stomping. Yeah.
Here's the other thing. Alabama plays in the toughest division, not just conference, the toughest division in college football by far, the SEC West. Wisconsin, and this is what I told the guy, Wisconsin would be Arkansas if they played in the SEC West. And Alabama got through it with only one loss. How the hell do they not deserve to be in the playoff? This is more college football's problem that they only invite 4 teams instead of an Alabama problem. But yeah, Alabama's like Duke. They deserve to be in the NCAA tournament every single year. I don't care if they don't win the ACC. Think about how ridiculous that is. You're setting this up. College football is setting this up to where you only have one representative per conference. And we've seen this year that the SEC usually needs to have 2 or 3 teams. If you really want to take the best teams in the country and throw them in a tournament, that the SEC needs to have 2 or 3, to be honest with you. And I think you got to expand a date. I know it's like a 10-year contract, whatever it is, but it's not going to be solved until this thing is expanded to at least 8.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, it definitely has to be at least 8 teams. And so, I mean, I heard something the other day where it was proposed that every conference champion gets in from the 5 major conferences, 2 wild cards, based on rankings, and then 1 automatic bid from the group of 5 conferences. So like a team like a UCF could get in one year, or a Boise State, Fresno State, teams like that have a chance every year to win the national championship, which I think would be pretty cool to see.
Well, I just think it needs to be 16. I would take 8 over anything right now, but that's why I don't get into college football. I'll be honest with you. I'm just not a huge college football fan because they have the worst way of any sport in the country. Dylan Davis-Tirado would tell us the Premier League is far superior. I mean, it's the worst way to decide a champion of all sports. And only 4 get in. That's just, you don't really know who the best team is. So 16 to me would be perfect, and this is what I propose. First round games are home games. The higher seed gets the home game. Then you move on. So you got 8 teams left. Then maybe you start incorporating some bowl games. And then you have like a Final Four. So you can work it out. They can work it out if they want to. If they put the money, I think this is the biggest problem with the NCAA and the older powers that be, is they don't want to give up the tradition of the bowl games, and they need to have the bowl games be elite and special. So they need those elite teams, like your Sugar Bowl, Rose Bowl, Fiesta Bowl. All those need to be really big bowl games, but they don't want to give up the New Year's Day tradition. But if you find a way to do that and keep the money in it or make more money, then they'll come around. But it's got to be expanded. But Orlando, what did you think? Alabama clearly deserved to be in the tournament, right?
Yeah, I know, without a doubt. The fact that the Wisconsin fan is coming here, that is just absurd. They totally deserve to be in that game, regardless of other teams deserving a chance. But just biting, going off of dances, just the division they're in, and losing that one game, they deserved it.
Yeah, I mean, they lost. The only loss they had was to their rival. Keep that in mind, okay? That game is always going to be a game. It's the Iron Bowl, and Auburn was the team that beat the number 1 team in the country twice, Georgia and Alabama, and that's Alabama's only loss, and you're telling me keep them out of it because they didn't even play in the SEC Championship? Not playing in the SEC Championship was the best thing that happened to Alabama, and I said that. I said that when they lost to Auburn. But you can't keep them out. That's like, okay, my scenario, check this out. It's like Kentucky going 26-4 in the regular season, but losing in the semifinals of the SEC tournament and them not being allowed in the NCAA tournament. What? They're clearly one of the better teams in the country. So what? Who cares what they did in conference play? I think eliminate conference championship games. I'm over them. I think they mean nothing. You're really playing for a title here. You're not playing to see who's in the best in the Pac-12, in the Big Ten, in the Big 12, the SEC. The ACC. You're not really playing to see who the best team is out of those conferences. You're playing to get a national championship. And I wish it would change. But enough of that rant. What about the game itself? Amazing game. People thought Alabama were done. People on Facebook and Twitter were going out of their minds dissing and bashing Alabama at halftime, and I knew that game went over. It wasn't no way in hell that game was over. So a lot of people ate their words when Alabama came back and won it. What about the game itself, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty fantastic for what I saw. Being an East Coast guy, man, it gets me every time. You got to work the next day. I fall asleep start of the fourth quarter about, so I missed the overtime. I was able to catch it, the highlights and stuff on SportsCenter, but it sucks because it goes so late. It goes into the morning, East Coast time. So what I saw, I mean, the first half I was glued to. You put some money down on Alabama before the playoffs started, predicting them to win. So I had some rooting interest, and I was shocked when Tua came out at halftime. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, I caught a couple Bama games this year, but nothing religiously, so I didn't even know who the heck he was, to be honest with you. And so
you wouldn't have any reason to unless you're a diehard Alabama and go to like their spring game.
Yeah, and or if you're a real big fan of Marcus Mariota because they're best friends, I guess, or something, or a mentor.
Went to the same high school.
Yeah. So Mariota was kind of a mentor to Tua, and he played lights out, man. He was unbelievable, left-handed. That was another thing you don't see a whole lot of, and especially successfully. But he's also got that dual threats and dual threat ability, and just the way Jalen Hurts even handled it. Just watch him on the sideline. Clapping, staying with it, staying upbeat there for his team, and at the end, I mean, how he felt inside to be able to put on that front and be there for your team. That was something special too, and
he did.
My heart went out to him.
Yeah, the post-game interviews, he did. You could tell he wasn't completely all right with it. Just couldn't gather his words exactly, but he had that national championship felt good. So, but. Man, who would have ever thought, man, going into halftime, Saban's either, an idiot or a genius, and it just happens to work out there for him, that it worked out for him. And Tua Tagovailoa?
Vilas, I don't know. Come on.
Sorry.
Tua. That's why I just stick to the Tua.
Much better. But I'm glad you mentioned the time frame, especially for your East Coast folks, that here's another problem I have with college athletics. They're always talking about the student athlete, got to look out for what's best for the student athlete. Why the hell are both national championship games played on a Monday night instead of at least a Sunday night or Saturday? I mean, college football, think about this. College football, every damn game is played on Saturday. Why isn't the college championship game played on Saturday? And same thing with the Final Four. Why isn't the Final Four start on Thursday and have your championship game on Saturday? I guess it's a ratings thing. They say Monday night's the best night for ratings because, I don't know, it's a dull night. No one's going out and doing anything, sitting in front of the tube. But, I mean, I don't know. I never understand that, why the national championship games are on Monday night. It's just a bad night. You really have to have a vested interest and take off work the next day to really enjoy it, me personally. So, Orlando, what did you think about the game itself?
No, it was a great game to watch. I was one of the ones. I wasn't bashing Alabama, but I thought they were out of it too, just the way they looked in the first half. And for Saban to come out and make a gutsy call like that, at the end, for all the marbles it was pretty insane. I didn't see that coming, and I mean, it was a hell of a finish. The finish, it was just a great game of football. I thought it was a great game.
So you had two really great games with the Georgia-Oklahoma game, Alabama-Clemson not so much, and then the national championship game. But that's what I'm saying. Why not have more of that? Why don't we get more of that? Yeah, it was two great games. But think about if you had 8 or 16 team playoffs, you would be getting more excitement like that. And I pointed out someone else on the Facebook group, Dan, that said, okay, now after last night's game, y'all got to admit college football is way superior to the NFL. I'm like, no, not even close. The rating for the national championship game was 15.8, and it was a great game. That's the national championship game. Dan, your Bills up there in Buffalo playing the Jacksonville Jaguars that ended in a 10-3 score, had a 17.2 rating, killed it. So no, calm down on that. The NFL is far superior. Yeah, they've had rating slips this year, but they're still the media giant. They're still the ratings giant. I mean, just to be honest with you, people are cord cutting. There's less people watching everything, period. So, but yeah, how can the national championship game draw less than a Bills Jacksonville Jaguars playoff game? That's nuts. Did you know that, Dan?
No, but I was one of the suckers that watched that Bills Jaguars game, and it was painful. It's one of the reasons why I hate watching the Bills, because Bills fans won't admit it to you, but if you try and watch an entire Bills game, half the time you're going to fall asleep. So I managed to stay awake for that whole Jaguars game, though.
But it was on was Saturday or Sunday? It was a Saturday game, wasn't it?
No, it was a Sunday. So one day. Okay. Yep.
So there goes my theory right there. People watched a crappy NFL playoff game between two teams that haven't had any history of being in the playoffs at all in the last 20 years that ended in 10-3. A lot more people watched that on Sunday than the national championship game that went to overtime and was a very exciting game on Monday. So I don't know about your ratings theory there either, but who bounces back next year? Alabama going to be there again? I don't know if y'all kept up with the recruiting, but Alabama will be there. But I'm picking Georgia. Y'all seen Georgia's recruiting class? They wiped the floor with everybody recruiting next season.
Yeah, I mean, I actually followed they got the in-state quarterback, the dual threat guy, who's like one of the number one or number two quarterback. I wonder how they're going to use him, because they said he's going to play quite a bit as a freshman. So they're going to use him in kind of an option role and still keep Fromm as the passer.
So what happens to Eason? Eason transfers?
He's going to Washington. He's going to be transferring to Washington, yeah.
Really? When was that announced?
I don't think it's official yet, but there's been leaks that that's where he's going to be going. So he'll probably, he'll obviously probably sit out a year, but then replace Jake Browning is the Huskies quarterback. So that's a good move for him.
Well, then I also wonder about Jalen Hurts. Is he going to transfer now?
Transfer. I've also heard he's going to make a switch to receiver. Who knows if that'll happen? If he wants an NFL career, make that switch in college instead of trying to do it in the pros. So who knows what'll happen there? But I mean, I think Tua is going to be the guy in Tuscaloosa next year.
Yeah, it's a hard decision, because it's hard to lose your job off of one half of football. It just happened to be the national championship game.
Yep.
Where he came in. But yeah, they really couldn't move the ball much in the first half, but also Tua Tagovailoa got a lot more throwing opportunities in the second half too. Jalen Hurts only threw it 8 times in the first half, where Tagovailoa ended up finished 24, 25 passes. So I mean, he was doing more with them, but it seemed to me like the offense opened up a little bit more. So I don't know, but he looked good. He got him in trouble a couple of times scrambling, and took some sacks to get him out of field goal position. One time really almost hurt him right before he made the game-winning play. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But that's your college football season. We'll do it all again next year. But just please expand the playoffs so I can start caring about college football, because to me, I start losing interest the later in the season you get, when it's only coming down to 4 or 5 teams. That's just not fun to me. It's inferior to college basketball in so many ways to me, the way the playoff system is set up. So, argue it any way you want to, but you got to have more teams involved than just 4. You got 5 power conferences. So figure it out, college football. We'll be watching. So let's move on and talk some NFL next. Got a whole lot of mailbag questions from you folks in the new year, 2018, coming up next. You are listening to and watching a brand new episode of My Fantasy Podcast from myfantasysportstalk.com. Season 3, Episode 1. It's 2018. And this is the way we do it. So NFL talk, man, this one's going to be for you. We'll start out with a wild card weekend. I got another one coming up for Dan here real soon, but let's go ahead and wrap up wild card weekend. We got our picks coming out. When's that going to be published, Dan?
Tomorrow. Tomorrow will be published.
So look for our official picks on the website tomorrow, myfantasysportstalk.com. That is Thursday, January 11th on the website. So that's our official predictions, but we're going to kind of skip ahead here because this is from Shane Blakeney. He wants to know, dang, what a wild card weekend. Who are your Super Bowl teams right now? I'll start it off. I know I'll get flack for probably both of you guys, but I'm sticking with Pittsburgh. Still the best team in the AFC, in my opinion. We're going to stick right there. And then I like Atlanta. I just think you messed up when you let Atlanta in the playoffs, and they could be that wild card team. They need to get back in the same groove they had last year. Same pieces, they just need to put it together. But I think that experience could really help them. And the only other team I really like out of the NFC is maybe Minnesota, if that defense just plays really tough. But they got a tough contest this week against New Orleans. So that's why I'm sticking to Pittsburgh, Atlanta right now. It's going to change. It's going to change. But that's what I say right now. Orlando, what do you think as of right now?
On the AFC side, I'm gonna have to stick with the New England. I don't know about Pittsburgh. I think they're gonna have their hands full with Jacksonville. Even if they should get past them, but I don't think they get past New England. And on the NFC side, that's kind of hard. I'm gonna stick with the guy I talked to not too long ago. The Vikings. But I do think even if they lose to the Saints, I do think the winner of that game will go on to the Super Bowl to represent the NFC.
Vikings.
Yeah, I think the winner out of that game will go on to the Super Bowl. I don't see Atlanta going in again. I mean, I like what they've done, but the Saints just seem pretty complete on offense and defense, and the same thing with the Vikings. Just their defense and the wide receiver duo and everything going on for them, I just think it's better than what Atlanta and obviously what Philly has going on.
I'm glad you snuck Philly in that conversation because, hello, they are the number 1 seed hosting. So, but yeah, Minnesota does scare me. You mentioned the defense and all the weapons. Plus, Minnesota's got the MVP, Case Keenum.
God, let's not relive that, please. Please, let's not. I'm going to have to walk out again. I'm going to have to leave. See you guys.
It ain't over, Orlando. Tell him it ain't nothing over.
It ain't nothing over. And then when Case Keenum takes the Vikings to the Super Bowl, then what are you going to tell me then?
I'll tell you, he wasn't the regular season MVP.
I think
he should at least be consideration. Yeah.
I seriously think it'll be okay. That team is just constructed like that. I think that as long as you don't keep throwing the ball over or fumbling it away, I think they'll be okay. So that's going to be a hell of a matchup, New Orleans, Minnesota. Be interesting to see. But I'm all over Atlanta beating Philly. All over Atlanta beating Philly. Just watch and see. I'll be interested to see what the spread in that. Have you caught the spread on that one, Dan?
3.5. Atlanta is favored.
Wow, exactly.
First time a number 1 seed has ever been the underdog in the divisional round of the playoffs.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. All I can say, wow. So, Dan, give us your Super Bowl pick.
I mean, there is only one team in the AFC who can physically get to the Super Bowl, and that's the Patriots. You'll find out in their picks tomorrow, but I'll give you a sneak peek. Pittsburgh's not moving on. They're not going to win. They are going to lose. Blake Bortles is going to do jumping jack, sidearm, shivers, touchdowns.
But Case Keenum has no chance.
Well, you didn't get to my NFC pick. You don't know yet. So Patriots in the AFC.
Saying you're bashing Case Keenum, but
as an MVP, I'm not calling Blake Bortles an MVP, but he's going to play well enough with that defense shutting down Big Ben for Jaguars to move on. So, but the Patriots are going to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. And I'm with Orlando, actually, with the NFC. I have right here, it says Vikings Saints winner is going to go to the Super Bowl. So if the Vikings can do it, it obviously will be on the back of that defense. And, defense can win championships, and they can definitely carry you to a Super Bowl. I saw a stat today. The Vikings have had the number 1 defense 7 or 8 times in their history, team history in the NFL. Only 1 time out of those 7 did they make it to the NFC championship game. So it'll be interesting to see if this will be one of the rare scenarios because stats are not on their side right now, or history isn't at least.
Wasn't there one year when I think maybe they still had Dante Culpepper was maybe the quarterback, and maybe like even Chris Carter's last year?
Yeah, they lost to Atlanta in the NFC championship.
Didn't they start out that they were the last undefeated team that year? I believe. I mean, started out like 11, 12, 15.
They went 15-1.
Okay.
And they lost the 14th game, so they were 13-0 and lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. John Gruden was the coach. No, or maybe it was Tony Dungy.
Yeah,
But anyways, it was the Tampa Bay.
We'll get to John Gruden, but
John Gruden.
I'm kind of with you guys. The only really team I'm dismissing out of the NFC is Philadelphia. I don't see any reason why Atlanta should not be back in the Super Bowl. But New Orleans, Minnesota, I love Minnesota's defense. That's a game changer. I think Case Keenum's plenty good enough to win the whole damn thing. And New Orleans, man, that offense is just so damn dynamic. With Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, then you got the two-headed running back snake. With Kamara and Ingram, and you just never know what way they're going to hit you. But can they do that in Minnesota? So yet to be seen. But I'm disagreeing with you guys on New England. Spoiler for the pick'ems. I'm riding Dan's way from last week, picking Tennessee. You done messed up. You done let Tennessee find that groove. They beat Kansas City, and now they're coming for Tom Brady. So believe that.
LOL.
You jumped off the Tennessee Titans bandwagon real quick.
I'm also I'm undefeated for a reason. I want to stay that way. I'm not just going to give up an L. I mean, I like Tennessee. I've picked them more times this year than an actual Tennessee Titans fan, as Brandon claims he is, and I'm not taking that. Maybe the points are getting 13.5. So. New England's expected to beat them by 2 touchdowns, so we'll see. Maybe they can keep it within that, but they're not going to win outright. No way. Not happening. Sorry.
This has got to be the ugliest playoff team I've ever seen in my life. I mean, maybe because I'm keeping up with them a little bit more than other teams. Like maybe Buffalo has an argument for that, Dan. But they lost. Tennessee won. So I don't know how they're doing it, man. I just don't know how they're doing it. Maybe Andy Reid only giving it to Kareem Hunt 6 times has something to do with it. But I'm to the point now, if you're a Chiefs fan, I'm pretty much done with Andy Reid. He is the worst game manager I have ever seen, not just in the playoffs. They're 0-7 now in home playoff games. But it's been regular season games too. He is a horrible game manager, horrible late game manager. They blew yet another lead, 21-3, and I've seen enough of the Andy Reid show if I'm in Kansas City. Do you think that it's time for that, Dan, or is that too drastic?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a kind of a proponent for continuity, so I do agree with you. I think his playoff record just in general. I mean, obviously, look at his time in Philadelphia. He can always get to the NFC Championship. I think he got there 4 or 5 times in a row, and he only won 1. So, I mean, his playoff record speaks for himself. But at the same time, I mean, you're winning division titles with him. That doesn't always happen with any old coach that you can get off the street. So,
yeah, but was that really a great accomplishment this year?
Yeah, anytime it's a division title, I would think so. I mean,
Denver sucked. Oakland just fell off. San Diego was the only team really with a chance, and they were so mediocre up and down throughout the year too. I mean, it's just kind of like they won the division by default.
Take it. You make the playoffs. You can turn that into a Super Bowl. Now, obviously, they didn't, but at least you had that chance to. So,
but they're starting out too hot to finish like this year after year.
Here's the thing, too. I think what you look at Andy Reid is he is a quarterback whisperer. Look what he's been able to do with Alex Smith. But now you have a franchise guy in the wings, Patrick Mahomes, who's going to come in next year. So I think you at least give Andy Reid a year with his guy, because he helped handpick him when they actually traded up to the Bills last year in the 2017 draft. You caught it here first on our own live draft show, which we'll do again.
But was Alex Smith the problem, though? I don't see quarterback plays being the problem as to blowing a 21-3 lead. It's play calling. It's schemes. I mean, I don't know. Starting with Kareem Hunt, that may be a good start. I mean, Kareem Hunt has to touch the ball at least 22, 23 times in that game.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. He didn't know what to do with Hunt all year. I mean, it looked like he did the first couple weeks of the season, and they were on fire. And then he was like, "Nah, see you later, Kareem Hunt. Where's Sharkhandrick? Let me get him out there."
Spencer Ware.
So, yeah, I mean, he's definitely to blame, but I think it's tough to cut ties with a coach who's brought a winning season basically every season he's been in Kansas City.
So we'll find out more this week in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs and see who makes it. I'm just going to watch out for the Tennessee upset. They play ugly. They play in the mud. Just watch out. and all the New England drama, which we'll get to in just a second or two. So the next one is for you, Dan, because you took a lot of heat on this, and I really didn't keep up with this situation as it happened this past week. I knew about the previous Richie Incognito thing in, where was it, Miami?
Yep.
So I didn't really keep up with this, though. But anyway, you had some folks going in on you. I think you got, 11 death threats, 8 go to hells, 4 stick to your day job or whatever. You broke down the list. It was insane. Shortly after that article was published, and I think people were just misconstruing it too. So must have been a lot of Buffalo fans there just misconstruing what the article was saying or just jumping all over you, man. But so here it is. Dan, you son of a bitch. Incognito is not a racist. His black teammate backed him up. The Mafia would like a personal apology, please. This is from Nicole Shed.
Man, yeah. So, I put this piece together. It was nothing special. The 250-word article, just to start my day. And it was just reporting the news. It's just facts. I go to Twitter, I look at what's going on. Obviously, after the game, after the Bills-Jaguars game on Sunday, the Jags defensive end, Yannick Ngakoue, came out and said that 64 on the Bills, which is Richie Incognito, said some racial slurs towards him. So in defense of that, the Bills left tackle, Dion Dawkins, came to Richie Incognito's defense. And this is where the article formed. The article is saying that Dion Dawkins came to Incognito's offense. And it really all it was. I know I put my own spin on it, as I usually do with a lot of my pieces. And I just said that Incognito's history isn't on his side. Obviously, you look at what happened in Miami. Obviously it was a teammate. So it's a little bit of a different circumstance, but I still believe you have to look at a player's history when something like this arises. And Bills Nation did not like that too much. They came at me pretty hard, and I think it was a little unwarranted. If you actually read the piece, I'm assuming they did. But yeah, they came at me saying how Incognito is a stand-up guy and how fantastic he is and how I should no longer be living on this earth. So,
and I guess all of these people have met Richie Incognito and had dinner with him.
Yes, I'm assuming, and they probably paid. So it's just, it's part of being a fan and living in Buffalo. I think it's a little bit different. I'm assuming it's kind of like this in every area. Obviously, in my life, I've only lived in Buffalo, and not being a Bills fan, I've had to deal with this. But the bias. They can't take it out. Obviously, if Incognito played for the Patriots, they would be saying how racist he is, how he definitely did say it. I had people literally sending me messages. They were just flowing because it became a pretty popular piece, and it was just, he did not say that. There's no way you would say that. He's completely changed. He's a different person. You don't know him anymore. You don't know him like that. He's a stand-up. And
nobody just listened to on-field audio. They don't know what the hell he said on the field. There's so many things said on the field that no one really wants to know. I don't know if it's always racial, but no one really knows. That's something that's kind of kept private in the locker room unless it really totally crosses a line. But that's why I love watching the show on Showtime, NFL. I forgot the name of it, but anyway, any HBO films, anyone that has mic'd up audio, I love that to get a little bit of a glimpse of what's really going on the field.
Yeah, definitely. Who knows what's being said? And I also pointed out in the piece because Dion Dawkins says he's next to Incognito. He lines up next to him. He would have heard it. Well, if you're actually playing the game of football, you're not going to listen to what the guy next to you always has to say. And if you're in the middle of a blocking assignment, if you have to take a combo block up to the linebacker, you're going to separate ways. So there's no reason that he would even be able to fully vouch for Incognito in that case. So I just pointed out some of those facts, not even opinions personally that I would say. So I got a little attacked for it, but it's all right. We enjoy that. We welcome it, as anybody who's listened to the podcast before. We bring those type of views and opinions on towards us, and we put them out in this type of forum. So I appreciate them looking at the website, reading the article for the most part. I think they did. But the NFL is now investigating it, so we're going to ultimately find out if anything was said and what the punishment to Incognito would be, because I'm assuming this would be considered a second offense if something was found out. He's already suspended for a season for the bullying incident with Jonathan Martin, so he might be facing an even heftier ban.
Yeah, there's certain areas have certain hot button topics, and it's going to split both ways. And the Josh Pastner in Memphis thing, I don't really think Memphis gets too worked up athletically in the sports field about too much, but Tiger basketball, now that's huge. And Josh Pastner, I would say honestly, a lot of that was split too. I think the majority of the people said, okay, yeah, you've had your time, but you had the Pastner defenders that were just like, y'all are stupid. Yeah, y'all are stupid. This dude has won so much, but yeah. So that was split. And it causes, quite heated conversations when you have split conversations like that. Orlando, is there anything like that in San Antonio? It's just a hot button issue that gets the people going locally.
I mean, obviously the Spurs the only major team that we have here at the moment, but I mean, when it comes to sports, it gets pretty diverse, football wise, college wise. So there's always a debate. There's a lot of, as much as there is Cowboys fans down here, there's also a lot of Cowboys hate. It's very diverse. That gets pretty heated.
That's where I was going to go. Is it being in San Antonio? Do you have like a section of Cowboy lovers and a section of? I mean, I guess it's really hard to hate the Houston or love the Houston Texans. They've accomplished so little in such short time. But is there that back and forth?
Yeah, there's that back and forth. There's the big time the Cowboys lovers, those diehards, and then there's absolutely no middle. It just skips to straight hate when it comes. So there's those people who have absolutely nothing pretty or nice to say about the team, Jerry, whoever. So it gets pretty heated. It gets pretty ugly. So yeah, that causes a lot of tension too, especially in sports bars. So that's a pretty hot topic.
Yeah, Buffalo folks are a different breed, Dan. They finally got in the playoffs and didn't last too long. 10-3 game. Didn't even score a touchdown.
Yeah, how sad. I'm shaken up about
it. I'm sure you are. Okay, so let's move on. The next NFL topic comes from let's see. And that was Nicole Shedd, by the way, that wanted to throw that jab at you. And I'm not really sure she got your apology for the mafia, but we'll leave that there. The next one comes from every NFL fan who hates the Patriots. And the question reads as this: do you believe the ESPN report on the Patriots? Will the dynasty be ending? Pretty please. So this is obviously from a Patriots hater. And Dan, you have to fill me in on this one too, because I really didn't. I read a little bit on it and I see what was going on, but I don't know what the big deal is. I don't see that anything is changing in New England in any way. So, Dan, what was this all about?
Yeah, I mean, basically the ESPN story, from what I've read the whole thing. To summarize it in a way that would kind of back up this question. Tom Brady is really close to his trainer. His trainer has, over the years, been invited to the facility. Tom Brady and the trainer have a way of working out called TB12. That's Tom Brady's way. It's what you live by. It goes against basically the Patriots training staff a little bit. TB12 and Tom Brady's trainer has tried to supposedly recruit Patriots players to follow their system instead of the Patriots system. And then on the same side, you have Bill Belichick not liking that, not wanting his trainer to have access the way he used to. And during this whole time, Bill Belichick doesn't want to trade Jimmy Garoppolo. Robert Kraft does, and ultimately tells him to do his job kind of the Patriot way. So Bill Belichick calls up his friend, Kyle Shanahan, who he's very close to his father, Mike, and says, I'm going to trade you Jimmy Garoppolo on the cheap because basically he's going to succeed, and that's going to help you out ultimately as well. So he gave very little for Garoppolo to kind of spite Robert Kraft. And now there's going to be, three sides, Robert Kraft and Tom Brady. Belichick knows Tom Brady isn't going to last forever. Even if he plays till 45, it's still only a few years away, and he traded away, Jimmy Garoppolo, who could have been the future. So it's this whole saga, and ultimately it's all going to unravel, and the three will go their separate ways. So I don't see that happening, but that's what I gathered from the story.
Yeah. And I'd heard the part about, was this true, about Tom Brady not allowing his trainer to work with Garoppolo? Nixing it all together and saying, no, bro, I ain't here to help you. To get your own trainer.
Yeah, so in the report, supposedly Jimmy Garoppolo was hurt when he was, starting for Tom Brady in his absence last season. He hurt his shoulder. He had an appointment with Tom Brady's trainer, and supposedly the trainer canceled on him. Garoppolo went to the Patriots staff and was like, what's going on? They canceled. So the Patriots staff contacted the trainer, and they had to agree to work with each other. So it was kind of, that's correct to an extent from what I can tell. Who knows? It was from Tom Brady. He denied it, but it's not like he's going to admit it. So, it's kind of a soap opera, it seems, but I think it's embellished also because Espen can do that.
Embellished it definitely to create a story, but like I said, ultimately, I don't think anything really occurs from this. But I do tell you this, and I think you were spot on because I don't think Belichick wanted Garoppolo to go. That's the thing. Tom Brady is 40. Garoppolo, you seen what he done in San Francisco. Dude can play. I mean, he brought that leadership instantly. Well, they win 5-6 in a row as soon as he started. On basically almost a winless team, a 2-win team. So dude made a difference. Dude can play. We saw that last year, and Dan pointed out he got hurt. I think that's what it was. Bill Belichick did not want Garoppolo to be traded, and we were even talking about that before the season started. Should they trade him while his value is high? I'm like, no, because you need that backup. What if Tom Brady does go down, which he hasn't yet this season? I got maybe one more
16 games, new breed.
It's in one more game. Game 17 against the Titans will be that game.
But we did talk about the 16. That's supposedly that phantom injury that he was going to have.
It's a miracle. I don't know.
Lando knows. Pick'em title champ knows.
I don't know how it happened. Regardless, you don't get rid of Garoppolo. I mean, that's just not a smart move to me. And it's even worse now that Garoppolo has done what he's done in San Francisco. So I think that was a huge part of it. And that's going to cause the biggest rift to me if I'm Bill Belichick, but I'm not leaving the Patriots. And Tom Brady's thing will work itself out on its own. He's not going to play till he's 45. Although I was very impressed this year, but it's not going to last forever.
45.
What do you think, Orlando?
This whole situation has been crazy. I've read the whole story too. There was a report too. I don't know how saying that some of the players went privately and mentioned how they viewed this whole TB12, what Brady and his trainer sort of as a cult, and that sounds silly as it is, but there's players who said that sometimes they don't know whether to go to Brady or Belichick because that's how tense it's gotten. And they don't want to get on either one's bad side. So this story's kind of all over the place. Ultimately, I think with everything going on, he's just going to piss off Tom Brady, and he's going to take it out on the Titans this weekend. But as far as the dynasty coming to an end, getting rid of Garoppolo, I think that was a red flag right there too. And that started being an eye-opener with everything going on in New England.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: what does the most damage to the dynasty ending? I mean, now that Garoppolo's gone, I would think it has to be Tom Brady leaving, right? I mean, which one is more valuable? Can Bill Belichick keep this thing going? The mad genius with a pencil in his ear, can he keep this thing going after Tom Brady, or when Tom Brady hangs it up, that's the end of it all?
I think with Garoppolo, he could have kept it going. I kind of viewed that situation as what Pop Patch was, down here with the Spurs when Duncan left. He still kind of has a winning mentality going. Obviously, it's not the same thing when your guy's gone. But I think that's where Garoppolo fell in place. Where Brady, in Brady's absence, once he was ready to hang him up. Now you don't have a guy like Garoppolo who was ready to develop, who's who sat behind Brady for a couple of years. So I think Belichick will still do it. I don't think they're going to completely fall apart with Belichick there, but it's not going to be the same without Brady there. But I don't think it just completely derails.
What do you think, Dan? Is it going to end when Tom Brady hangs it up, or can Belichick keep this thing going?
I mean, I think they're both beneficial to each other, but I kind of still lean towards the coach, man. I think Bill Belichick, who knows that he won't draft another franchise quarterback in the next couple of years.
I mean, I think he may have in Garoppolo, and they let him go.
Right, and but I mean, now they're probably going to look for one in the draft this year. And maybe they can find a hidden gem, or maybe they'll wait another year because Brady still has a few years left. So you're going to ride that out for a couple more years, win a couple more championships probably, and then maybe assess life, whether you want to retire or could try and find that next franchise guy. Because as long as he has somebody like that, I think he's going to stay, and the Patriots are going to continue to win.
I would just always. It's been so long, we're never going to see this, but I always kind of was curious as to what would happen if Brady and Belichick were never together. How good would Brady be? How good would Belichick be? You mentioned it, Dan. I think they complement each other perfectly. Now, Tom Brady also obviously has a mental mindset to play the position of quarterback as good as anyone in the country. Didn't really have all the physical skills. I mean, did you see his combine footage? I mean, it was horrible. It was not good. That's why he fell so far in the draft. Or what was he, 6th round?
Yep.
I mean, his combine footage was horrible. He was slow, unathletic, but he plays the position of quarterback very well. But would he have been as good without Bill Belichick? I don't think so. I think he would have been great, but I just don't know that the Super Bowl titles would have been there. And maybe vice versa. Belichick has benefited greatly in having the GOAT. So if those two had never hooked up, where would it be? I mean, because think about it. Peyton Manning was a damn good quarterback, and he barely squeezed out 2 Super Bowls, but the last one didn't even really belong to him. He handed it straight to the defense. So it takes that perfect combination. I just kind of wonder what would happen if those two never hooked up. We'll see. But I think when Tom Brady does hang it up, the dynasty's got to be coming to an end, because you just don't replace an elite quarterback like that. But I do think Bill Belichick has enough moxie and enough in him to keep a competitive team. Regardless of whether or not you got the greatest quarterback in the game or not. So we'll see what happens. Sorry, every NFL fan who hates the Patriots. I think you might have to wait another year or so. We'll see what happens, but appreciate the question. The next one comes from Marquise Stockton. What do you make of the John Gruden contract? Good deal for Raider Nation. And let me get this straight, guys. The Raiders are done in Oakland, right? Next season they will be playing in Las Vegas.
No, I think they still got 2 more years in Oakland.
I think it's 2019. Yep.
Oh, okay, my bad. 2 more. Okay, 1 more. I guess 1 more full season. So this is an interesting turning point for the Raiders franchise. So you're going to be moving to Las Vegas. You got John Gruden locked up for 10 years for $10 million a year. I talked about on the podcast, I don't know, it was a weeks ago when the Raiders slip was happening. I was not a fan of Jack Del Rio. You kind of saw the same mediocre play in Jacksonville. He didn't seem like the team was very enthusiastic to play. You could blame coordinators, but to me, I'm putting it on the head coach. He didn't look very enthusiastic to me. The team just acted like they didn't want to come back and play this year and do more than what they did last year. That to me falls on the head coach. You ain't gonna have that problem with John Gruden. I don't know how well of a defensive-minded coach he will be. I don't know if all these parts they have now really fit together and you have it rolling quite yet. I know they severely underachieved this year, but what I do know is if you give John Gruden 10 full years and just let this thing play out, I think you're going to be better than any other scenario you probably would have had, unless you can get Bill Belichick. What do you think, Dan? Is this going to work out? 10 years, $10 million, greatest NFL coaching contract ever to be handed out?
Yeah, I mean, by no means do I think John Gruden is the best NFL coach ever, or even deserves that type of money. The only person would be Bill Belichick in my mind, and there's been reports that he actually makes more than that. It's kind of hidden and through various channels and different things, but ultimately, I mean, I think for the Raiders, this is the guy that they wanted. This is the guy that they got. He wanted to be there. I don't know if you listened to that press conference, but I wanted to put on some shoulder pads after watching that and just run into a tree for the dude. I mean, it fired me up watching that, and you can just tell his passion for the game is still there. So it might not translate to Super Bowl victories, but I think they're going to be more prepared. Derek Carr is going to be a lot better. And you're just going to see that offense kind of take off. I mean, Spider 2Y Banana is going to be gelling in Oakland for a little while. And then it's a great transition to Vegas because over the last few years, Gruden has developed such a personality in the Monday Night Football booth. I think he knows how to play to the media even more. And that's why that press conference went so well. He knows what to say. He knows that his weird facial expressions are a hit now. I think back before he did Monday Night Football, it was just kind of anger, and that's just what he does. But he plays it off so well. He's going to be the perfect coach to bring football to Las Vegas and bring that media spotlight there. And it's going to be good for the Raiders organization.
And I kind of think that's a little bit a part of the huge contract is just let's wipe the slate clean. We're about to have a brand new, fresh start coming up soon. And who knows if even half these players will even be there. But you got to think you have a nucleus of Carr and Amari Cooper. I mean, even Crabtree was the more valuable receiver this year. So I don't know. And maybe Marshawn has another year or two. I don't know. You got some decent talent there. But what they're not going to lack is enthusiasm on the sideline. That's completely what I saw from stone-faced Jack Del Rio. And it gets old, man. I don't know why they fell on their face this year. Why didn't they not come back stronger than they did last year? I think Carr was okay. No, he may not have been 100%, but there was just no reason for them to not be more competitive in that fairly weak AFC West. And I'm pointing to Jack Del Rio. And we've seen Jack Del Rio's card before. He's shown his hand before, and he eventually got run out of Jacksonville, and now look what they're doing. So I think it's nice. It's nice. Even if they don't start winning games at an extremely high level, man, you can't say they're not going to be one of the most exciting teams and must-watch teams in the NFL. Being in Vegas, moving to Vegas, first team Vegas has ever had, and then having John Gruden, Chucky on the sidelines, you're definitely not going to lack enthusiasm, and that counts for so much to me, in my opinion. Orlando, what do you think about the move? A lot of money.
Yeah, I know it's a lot of money. Ultimately, I don't know if he lasts all 10 years. That's a topic for another
that's
day.
Insane, really. Who gives any coach in any sport a 10-year deal? Come on. Now I'm not for giving players 10 years deals. That's insane. That's a decade.
Yeah. I mean, but, it's going to be interesting to see, what happens for them going into Vegas. He calls himself, they call him the quarterback guru. Want to see what the changes he could do, the mechanics and stuff to fix Carr. I know Carr, prior to this season, he had, broken fibula to the 2016 season. Then, he basically broke his back early in the season and still played. And Carr just didn't seem like the guy in 2016, like the way he was this past year. The same thing goes for, what he's going to do with the wide receivers. I don't even know if Michael Crabtree is coming back for next season. I'm not too sure of that, but what's going on with the Amari Cooper to see that, and this, with the running back situation. I don't think Marshawn's a starter. I don't know if he comes back next season. I would like to see what he does with Jalen Richard and DeAndre Washington. So there's a lot of stuff going on to see what Gruden's going to do in those changes. So I'm a little optimistic right now. Gruden got thrown in a good situation, but definitely a lot of hurdles to go through. So I just want to see how it plays out. I do think it's good for Oakland. They got the guy they wanted, but man, that's I don't know. Just if Gruden's been 9 years already in a broadcast booth, just to think that he's going to come in and to turn this franchise around right away with these guys, I just can't see that happening right away. I mean, it'll take some time. Hopefully Oakland's, those 10 years are pretty patient with him, but I don't think they just turn it around right away.
I think he was waiting to the perfect opportunity. To be honest with you, I'm not sure that I wouldn't have just stayed in the booth. What a cushy-ass job. What a wonderful job to have, and still making quite quite a bit of penny make it doing that job too. So, but I think it was just finally the perfect storm, maybe the perfect opportunity, the right challenge came around for him. But I've seen a lot of people just dissing this, like, dude hadn't coached in, like Orlando said, years and years and years. May not have been even the greatest coach to begin with. So what makes you think that he's worth the money, number one, or that he even should have replaced Jack Del Rio if you're a Raiders fan? So I don't know, Dan, do you totally dismiss this? There's a way that John Gruden can be a hell of an NFL coach. Are you dismissing him as well? He's an old dude that hadn't coached in the league, and I see why he got out of the league, that this is a horrible hire. Is this a horrible hire? Is that even on the radar for you, Dan?
No, I like the hire. I think the Raiders did good by hiring him. And let's not forget about this Raiders team. I mean, they were, I would say, 75% of teams picked to be the Super Bowl in the AFC this year. I mean,
yours truly.
Our in our predictions, I think we have 3 or 4 guys pick the Raiders to go to the Super Bowl. So I mean, this team has talent, so they have the ability, to make it happen. They can turn around and win the division next year on the back of Derek Carr and Khalil Mack. So I think Gruden is a great hire. Whatever money you want to pay him. I mean, you had to pay him more than what he was getting in Monday Night Football booth, and that was $6 million. So they upped it a little bit more, and
which is why he never was going to touch the college game. I mean, he was trolling Tennessee so bad. Why not just come out and say, "Look, Vols fans, I'm not coming there. Give me a break. There's no college in the country that can hire me for more money and have me go through that stress." Just plain and simple.
Yeah, I mean, the college game's a little crazy, but that coaching bug, it just doesn't go away. I mean, his playbook, he probably still updates it and toys around with it through that 9 years. He obviously
still fairly young too, right? How old is he? Are going to be early 50s?
Yeah, I mean,
54, I think.
Yep. So he's still got it. I expect to see some success come out of Oakland and then Las Vegas.
It's going to be exciting just to see a team in Las Vegas, but man, just leaving the Oakland, LA area, it's almost not going to seem like the black and silver, right? It'll be weird. Have they announced it? Are they going to be the Las Vegas Raiders, or are they changing their mascots altogether, like the Rollers or the Gamblers or something stupid like that?
No, they're going to be the Raiders.
It's best for marketing. I definitely wouldn't change that Raider name for sure. So we'll see. But a lot of money, but it's worth the gamble to me. It's just worth the gamble for, like I said, the enthusiasm factor. John Gruden, man, he's kind of like that quarterback guru. So we'll see what happens, and it'll be exciting. But I'm almost kind of dismissing. I didn't realize. I thought they were moving to Vegas. So if they got another year in the NFL, I'm kind of ready for them to just go ahead and move. Let's just get this new era started. But we got some time. Thanks for the question, Marquis Stockton. So let's see. That's all of just regular NFL questions. But now I want to talk some NFL draft coming up, because Dan's already posting that he's watching draft film, letting us know hour by hour that what he's studying. So keep up with that, folks. But what I want to do next is we're going to get back to some of our oldest friends on the podcast here, Nick and Judy Purton. Got a lot of stuff to cover with them. We'll do that next. You are listening to and watching My Fantasy Podcast from myfantasysportstalk.com. This is season 3, episode 1, 2018. Where did time go, Dan?
Out the window.
Completely out the window, and fell a few stories, and here we are. So this one, Nick and Judy Purtons, just want to check in. This is almost like cards they send us, like greeting cards. It's not even really questions every week. It's just like greeting cards. Hey guys, I'm checking in. Let's see what you're doing. Happy New Year, fellas. Not much happening in our sports world besides the Titans, but their run will end shortly. Same as last time. Grizz stink. University of Memphis stinks. And yes, Orlando, San Antonio stinks too, compared to the elite teams anyway, especially with Kawhi's injury. Yeah, he'll probably play, but it worries the hell out of Judy. Let's talk NFL draft. You guys are literally the best in one stop for everything NFL draft. Top 5 quarterbacks. And where do the Titans look? Nick and Judy Purton. So I'll answer probably the first half of this real quick. Grizz are tanking. I don't know. Now the debate, which we'll talk about Conley later here too. I don't know, man. I don't know which way to go. I could go either way on Marc Gasol right now. To me, he's acting a little bit. And Orlando can help me out. He's acting a little bit soft. And you know how to spell that out, Orlando? SAWFT. Soft. That's what Marc Gasol is right now. So I could go either way on him. I just don't care the way he's been turning the ball over and just playing weak in the fourth quarter, especially. I don't know. We'll see what happens. University of Memphis, we saw what happened. They ended up losing 2 in a row with football now, with the championship game, the AAC championship game to Central Florida, the national champions, baby. And ended up losing the bowl game to Iowa State, the Liberty Bowl game to Iowa State. But that was a hell of a matchup. That was fun to watch. Dan, you won money on that, right?
I think they lost by 3, right? I think I pushed.
No, they won. Lost by 1, 22-21.
Then I did win. Yes. No. I lost. I took the money line. No, yeah.
Which was 3?
No, the money line is Memphis had to win outright. The spread was -3, but actually they were favored. Memphis was favored. It was Iowa State that was +3. So overall, it was a loss.
Yeah, man.
Thanks. It was the conference championship game that they pushed.
Right. That was crazy too. But anyway, sorry, Dan. I really thought they had him, but hey, that Big 12 defense got him. And they lost their offensive coordinator for the game, Daryl Dickey, which is going to Texas A&M. So I think that had a little something to do. That's why bowl games are so skewed, and you can't take that for anything to me. I don't care about bowl games because how many times do we see it every single year? Head coaches. I'm surprised Scott Frost even stayed to beat Auburn, to be honest with you. That was kind of a rare move in today's world. So, but so many times coaches and coordinators leave, and it's just not the same. You play a silly little bowl game after being off for 3, 4, 5 weeks. I don't know. But anyway, University of Memphis, Nick, to me, is overachieving right now. Tubby Smith is taking this group of not much talent at all. And I think they're, 11 and 12 and 5 or 6 or something like that. The conference schedule is going to catch up to them when you start playing the Cincinnati, who beat the pants off of them by 40, and your Wichitas and maybe your Houston. But the conference schedule, but they're going to finish the same way they have the last 4 or 5 years, even under Josh Pastner, about 18 and 15, something like that, and not even sniff the NIT. But they have no talent on the team. Tubby's doing the best he can coaching these guys because they're just not very talented and one of the most inexperienced teams in college basketball. So I'm not bashing it. I could go either way on that too right now. I don't care. If you want to get rid of Tubby, if Tubby wants to retire, go after Tom Crean. That's my choice right there, who is doing analyst work and color commentary work. So he's available. He might need a job if Tubby's ready to go. If not, I just need Tubby to recruit. Just recruit me a couple pieces and then let him coach them up. I'll be fine with that. Well, that's Memphis. That's your Memphis report for this podcast. Orlando, what is going on with San Antonio? Because I've been watching Kawhi Leonard because his value in daily fantasy is pretty low right now and has been. But, dude, guy can't stay healthy, can't count on him quite yet. So what's going on with the Spurs right now?
It feels like someone just put some witchcraft on it. It's just been an unlucky year for Kawhi. Going from, ending 2017 with a playoff again, that finals against the Warriors and headed into 2018. Finally he's trying to get in the rhythm, and it looks like the old Kawhi coming back, and then he suffers a partial tear in his left shoulder. So I know he's already been rolled out for tomorrow's game against the Lakers. No timetable on how long he's going to be out. So it's
still the 3 seed. You got the same amount of wins as Houston. And so do y'all want to revisit that topic from a few weeks ago? Houston's the best team in the NBA. Right? Wrong. What happened? They are 4 games behind Golden State now. Like I said was going to happen.
Curry's glass ankles are coming out. He sprained his ankle again in practice today. He will not make it the rest of the season.
And
you want a Tom Brady somebody? It's going to be
Houston doesn't have their problems. Chris Paul's already been out twice with injuries, and James Harden's out now. Houston's
I don't care about that. I'm talking Steph Curry's ankles.
Anyway,
their glass.
The slip happened. All I'm telling you is, this wasn't but about 8-10 games ago. Now the Rockets are 4 games behind Golden State. But anyway, your San Antonio Spurs have the same amount of wins as the Houston Rockets, so they just do what they do. Pop does what he does, but man, you got to get healthy at some point and start building chemistry. I would think shortly after the All-Star break anyway, if you want to gear up for any kind of decent playoff run. Otherwise, you're not going to beat Houston or Golden State for sure if you match up with them.
I believe Houston without, they've been slipping pretty far without Harden. I think they're like 3-7 in their last 10 games. So, the Spurs, they got to get that chemistry. They got to get those guys injured. I know Rudy Gay's hurt. Danny Green's hurt. There's a bunch of injuries going on. But, yeah, no, they got to get healthy. They got to get Kawhi, but at the same time, take their time with them because he's coming off that whole ankle thing, and they don't want it, the shoulder, the tear in the shoulder going on. So there's a lot going on. But I think, just as you mentioned, usually after the All-Star break is when they usually get it together and start making the run headed towards the playoffs.
If they're healthy, that's the key thing. They got to all be healthy because you mentioned Rudy Gay, Kawhi. But anyway, Minnesota's the team you don't want to play right now. Minnesota's on the surge. Dan, they finally got that 4 seed you've been talking about for 7 years.
Yeah, 4th seed.
7 years.
But I predicted them to get the 3 seed this year. So
okay. Well, they got time. But
they'll catch those Spurs. The Spurs will start to miss some times because there's some wicked Matlock reruns coming up. So, they'll catch them. Don't worry.
So let's talk about something you probably don't want to talk about, Dan. Those Oklahoma City Thunder, who are right behind those Minnesota Timberwolves. They made a surge. Yeah, you had some folks talking pretty bad about the Oklahoma City Thunder, and I'm not saying they're going to finish in the top 4, and I'm not saying they're really a threat in the playoffs, but too much on that team. And to be honest with you, it all started when Carmelo moved to the bench. That surge started. They went from 9th seed in the West to 5th seed pretty damn quick when Carmelo went to the bench. Surprised?
Well, no. You put Carmelo on the bench and you start to win games. That makes a lot of sense. So it's smart that Billy Donovan was able to figure that out. And they're still no threat. They're a first round and exit team in the West. So go ahead to just DDT. He's the one that predicted them in the finals. Finals DDT.
DDP was studying too much soccer at the time or something. He didn't have time to write that article. He had to work that night. He had classes. The Premier League was going on. He just kind of threw that out there. That's not going to happen. But they're still right there. Check this out, Dan. Let me get your opinion on this, and I'll get Orlando's opinion too. I heard conversation, and it may have been Mark Jackson who said this on an NBA broadcast. And if you didn't, Mark, I apologize. But it's someone like a Mark Jackson, and I think it was Mark Jackson, that said that Carmelo's jersey should be retired in Madison Square Garden when he hangs it up.
No, not at all. He didn't even get them. Did he even get them to an Eastern Conference Finals?
If you add up their combined record since all 6-7 years he played there, however long it was, it's horrible. It's horrible. I'm not even sure they won 100 games.
Wow. Yeah, that's no way. That wouldn't even be a thought. I wouldn't even slightly consider that.
Yeah, the argument was what he did for the Knicks, kind of bring him back to relevancy, the numbers that he put up while he was there. I'm not seeing it. I'm not sure they ever won more than 25, 26 games in any season he was there. Hell no. You'd have a more convincing argument to me to retire his jersey from the Nuggets than you would New York. Hell no. What do you think about that, Orlando? Is that nuts?
Yeah, no, that's nuts. I mean, he had some good regular season games, but overall, every time he was in the playoffs, he was getting bounced by, Paul Pierce and the Celtics or the Heat. He didn't do much over there in New York, and he fought a lot with his teammates and coaches, or he was injured. So no, I don't think his jersey should get hung up there in Madison Square Garden. That would be a joke.
No, completely agree with that. I was floored when I heard that, because I was watching an Oklahoma City broadcast, and I'm pretty sure it was Mark Jackson. So if not, I apologize. Maybe Reggie Miller, which I can't stand Reggie Miller on a color commentary. But anyway, let's get back on focus here. That was bonus NBA coverage for you guys. But Nick and Judy really want to talk about the NFL draft because we are the number 1 spot, Dan. Period. It's right here. Nick or Judy, whoever wrote this, I think Nick, because he refers to Judy being a little bit worried about the Spurs. So I'm going to say Nick has just told you guys we are the number 1 spot for NFL draft coverage. Nothing more to say.
Yeah, I eat, sleep, drink, nap, jog, walk, NFL draft and NFL film, or just film watching football. So I love it, and I put my I would say expertise out there, and I'm going a little bit bolder this year. I'm going with what I see. In previous years, I've maybe been a little bit tepid and held back a little bit in how I, whether I'm going to bash a prospect or put a little halo over his head. So I'm going for it this year, and I'm already getting my notes. If you want to see some notes, this is all notes that I have written so far on the draft prospects.
Did you actually write them, or did you type them? Tell me you were using the computer in the year 2018.
No, I do a couple different things while I'm actually watching. I physically write. I can't type and watch at the same time, and a lot of the times I watch on my computer.
Damn, man, Microsoft Word has got to be like 25 years old now. You ain't heard of it?
I can't do it. It's my old school way. Because I just write while I'm watching. I don't stop watching. I just keep writing and just watch what I see or write what I see. So it's just the way I've always done it. I love doing it that way. And then
old school, like Bill Belichick.
Make them pretty after the fact. So
keep the mechanical pencil.
Yeah. So I love it. And it's something that is just kind of a hobby that I've turned into MFST a little bit. And, it's taken notice. Obviously, draft time is our busiest time of year on the site, to be honest with you. We get the most traffic to the site during this time from now until May. We're going to be booming because I'm going to be putting out a lot of draft profiles, scouting reports. I'm going to add some video aspects this year. That's going to be something new with the redesign and how we're going to operate. So we're going to have all facets covered, and every single draft prospect, every single player that gets drafted, it's going to be our goal to cover and at least have something on them. So if they're drafted by your team, you're going to know about them.
And I guess we're going to have to start planning a live NFL draft podcast show coming up pretty soon, because it's in April, right? Or is it? They moved it back. It's in April, right?
Oh yeah, it is. End of April. I think maybe the 28th. 28th sounds about right.
So that'll be here before you know it, because it's already 2018. So we got that to plan. So, but Nick specifically wants to know about quarterbacks here. So I was looking at a list earlier here. You tell me, Dan, who is consensus number one to you right now? If you had to say number one without in-depth analysis, that it's still early for you to have done that, but I trust your judgment enough for you to tell me who you think should be number one.
Yeah, my number one quarterback, it's really not even close in my eyes, and that's Josh Allen from Wyoming. He stands above the rest to me. Just to give you a brief NFL comp on him, Carson Wentz, that's who he's going to be.
Wow. Well, doesn't that say something that you're high on him, that high on him, and Carson Wentz has only played a year and a half in the NFL?
Just their traits. So their arm is very similar. They're both very athletic, came from smaller schools like North Dakota State, Wyoming. So just their size is very similar. They have a lot of the same physical traits. And I think
6'5", 222 is a pretty damn big dude.
Yeah, and he can take a hit, and he didn't have any players. All three of us could have been his slot receiver this year.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because his numbers are not going to blow you away. And I don't know what scouts may be looking at, but he had less than 2,000 yards, 1,800 yards, 16 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, or 6 interceptions, something like that. 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. So the numbers aren't going to blow you away, especially compared to some of the other guys, like even a Riley Ferguson, who had 40-plus touchdowns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he was injured for a lot of the year, but his tape, I mean, you look at that Iowa game, he was beat up nonstop. His offensive line looked like the worst kind of Swiss cheese because it was all holes. And he was running for his life, but just some of the throws that he made under pressure on the run are NFL type throws. From the college hash to the opposite hash, he was throwing out patterns, anticipating the throws before the wide receiver even made the cut. He's chucking it, and it's spot on of where it is with 3 defenders in his face. So I just think he has the best ability. He definitely has the highest ceiling. He may need a little bit of work, but I also thought Carson Wentz, who was my number one quarterback when he came out, I thought he may need some work, and he started right away as a rookie. So you never know in this day and age in the NFL.
So, but let me ask you, and I don't necessarily hate that pick at all. I definitely like that pick of Josh Allen. I like those big dudes like that, 6'5", can see over. And I'm not going to discount just because he played at Wyoming. Not at all. But Dan, that's probably not going to be the overall consensus right now. You're going to have to be picking between Josh Rosen and Sam Darnold. What do you think, man? I got to see Josh Rosen. I'll be honest, I don't catch much Pac-12 football, but I saw Josh Rosen in the Liberty Bowl, and he got beat. He put up pretty decent numbers, I think. I think he had 4 touchdowns, but Riley Ferguson kind of outplayed him that day, and against a pretty soft Memphis defense a lot earlier in the season. And then Sam Darnold, the bowl game last year came out as a superstar, and then he kind of, just kind of lost a little bit of hype this year. So, but anyway, the consensus are going to be those 2 guys. So out of those 2 guys, who do you think has the edge?
Out of the 2, I actually am partial to Rosen a little bit, and that's just because he has an unbelievable arm and he's accurate to all levels. His accuracy is off the charts when you actually put on his tape, but he just makes head-scratching plays. His footwork, you might say, a lot of people say it's very refined, but if you get pressure on him, he crumbles, and his footwork crumbles along with it. In my rankings, I actually have Rosen as as my 4th quarterback, and I have Darnold as my 6th. So they're definitely not 1-2 like a lot of people that you're going to see with their rankings. I don't have them that high. Rosen's arm is without off the charts, but his behavior off the field, his head, is he going to put in the work that I want my franchise quarterback to do? I'm not sure, and he's already made some, outspoken comments. I don't really even care about that. It's what you hear from his teammates, that he wasn't liked by his teammates. He didn't have a lot of conversation with them. Similar to like an Aaron Rodgers, some of the reports that you heard, and obviously you can look, Aaron Rodgers turned out okay, but he commanded on the field. And I don't see Josh Rosen being a leader and commanding an offense, commanding a team in the NFL, because he didn't do it at UCLA. I don't think he's going to do it in the NFL.
So I'm sorry, who did you not have in the top 5? You didn't have Darnold?
Darnold is my 6th ranked quarterback.
Okay, so let me kind of speak for you, and you tell me if I'm wrong. You got Lamar Jackson in your top 5 and Baker Mayfield in your top 5, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then who's that other guy that we're missing?
Mason Rudolph, Oklahoma State.
There you go. Yeah, you've been high on him for a little while.
Yeah, I love just like Josh Allen, he's got the size at 6'5". He's got a great arm. His accuracy it has been improving. The tape that I've seen, I'm halfway through his tape. And he misses some throws like a lot of guys do, but he has some unbelievable throws, especially deep to some of his wide receivers that were I couldn't believe he made those type of throws. You wonder how that offense is going to translate to the NFL, but his footwork is down, and I just like overall the type of player that he can turn out to be. He keeps climbing those rankings, and Rudolph is actually my number 2 quarterback behind Josh Allen.
Yeah, you've been high on him for a while. Let me ask you about Drew Lock. He's just the guy who set the SEC single-season passing record for touchdowns with 43 or 44, whatever the record was, but he set it on a team that really surprised. I'm not sure Missouri was supposed to do much this year. So what about him, Drew Lock?
He has announced he's returning for his senior season.
Okay, well, there you go. That solves that. That solves that. He was on this draft board. Someone had him as high as 6th on the draft board. So, what do you think about him?
I haven't been able to watch his tape, but from what I've read, he's going to be probably one of the top ones next year. He probably saw, he would probably be a 5th, 6th type guy. Maybe he can skyrocket a little bit up there. But I think he saw some of the names that came out this year. That are coming out this year, and he wanted to wait a year, which is smart. Him and Ryan Finley, the quarterback from NC State, who I really wanted to see come out this year. He was my sleeper quarterback. He's returning for his senior season. So remember those 2 names in the 2019 draft.
I kind of think what Locke did was fairly impressive, because after the controversy on the campus of Missouri, you remember that? I don't even remember what exactly the story was, but the racial controversy on the campus, I remember that was a huge deal, and you had a lot of players even transfer out at that time. So I don't think that Locke was working with the best talent pool this particular year. So I think that was impressive to do what he did. 44 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, something like that. So somebody to keep an eye on. What about Lamar Jackson? Is he going to be NFL quarterback and good in the next coming of Michael Vick, or at least as good as Deshaun Watson, maybe?
I don't think so. I mean, and he's my third-ranked quarterback, and I'm saying I don't think so. He is very tantalizing. I've fallen in love with his athleticism. Obviously, a team is going to as well, and they will take him. He's going to be a first-round pick. Nobody with that kind of speed that can throw the ball like that. His arm is unquestioned. It's his accuracy and decision-making that is the biggest thing, his footwork, his technique, arm angles, different things like that. He has a cannon for an arm.
Imagine what like a Sean McVay could do with that dude.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a coach that thinks this is going to be my guy. He's going to be the next Michael Vick. Now, is he going to put in the work that Michael Vick didn't do? Because if Michael Vick actually watched film and studied the game, who knows what he could have been. One thing that I'd like to see, and I didn't get through his tape yet, but just looking at his numbers, he was able to improve his completion percentage each year, and his interceptions went down. That tells me he's being a little bit more safe with the ball, understanding coverages a little bit better, going through progressions, and that's what you look for on tape. So that's going to be my biggest keys when I watch his film. How is he able to do that, and how is that going to translate to the NFL? Will he be an under the center type quarterback? I don't know, but somebody is going to want him on their team, whether it's as a wildcat package or a starting quarterback. But somebody's going to give him a go.
There you go, Nick. That was a little bit of a quarterback breakdown. So much more of that to come, I promise you, over the next couple of months of NFL talk, NFL draft talk. Promise you that. And look for those draft profiles coming up real soon. So thanks for the question. Thanks for allowing us to cover all that for you. And thanks for chiming in another week, the Pertins family. We got another draft question I want to get to real quick, and that one is basically hits on the same topic, but we're going to switch it over to running backs. And this one comes from Gilly. Our man Gilly's back. Only one question this week, Gilly. Okay, from Gilly Stevens. Who are the running backs directly behind Saquon Barkley? Because we know Barkley is number one in the NFL draft. Dan, another guy. Here's a guy that I really had that I like a lot. I'm not saying I have a draft board. I don't study it like you, but I really like Kerryon Johnson from Auburn. He had a huge part in them beating the number one team in the country twice this year. And that's just a dude, when I watch Auburn play, I'm like, that dude has it, and I like what he does. Now, you're going to get like Nick Chubb. There's also, what's the guy from Stanford? Bryce Love from Stanford. Nick Chubb, guys like that. But I really like Kerryon Johnson if we're not talking about Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, I have Kerryon Johnson as my fifth-ranked running back right now. I love him too. Great combination of size and speed. He can bang in between the tackles, and I think he's going to have the speed in the NFL to be able to get to the outside. I want to see what he's going to run in the 40, but yeah, I think he's going to be a great prospect, and his stock is going to continue to climb as the draft process moves along.
So go ahead and finish. If you had him fifth, You said, who's those other three guys?
So number 2, I have Darius Geist from LSU. He came on the scene for me actually last year when I was scouting Leonard Fournette. I kept seeing this guy step in for Fournette and just run off the screen. I mean, he jumped off the screen to me, and he actually had a better tape last year than I think Fournette did, because Fournette was dealing with injuries, and Geist was able to actually get more of a load, and that's when he kind of came on, and I think he's going to be a fantastic pro, similar to like a Delvin Cook. And my third ranked running back is Rashad Penny from San Diego State. Not many people are going to have him this high, but if you look what he does, he's just a productive running back. He had over 2,000 yards this season for the Aztecs, San Diego State, and he can do it all. I mean, he had a fantastic bowl game against Army. He's the in-between the tackles runner. He's not going to outrun you, but he's very powerful. He'll run you over, and he's a guy that he's a 3-down back. You can give it to him 3 straight times. You can give him the ball 20 to 30 times a game, and he'll be able to handle it with his body. And then my fourth running back right ahead of Kerryon Johnson is Sonny Michel from Georgia. I think he's going to be a better pro than Nick Chubb. I actually have Nick Chubb, just to give you an idea, well, technically he's going to be 10th now because Damian Harris just said he was going to come back to Alabama, but Nick Chubb was 11th on my list. I think Michel is a lot better running back, faster. You don't have the durability concerns. And what I put in the article is I view Sonny Michel and Nick Chubb as Kenyon Drake and Derrick Henry of a couple years ago. I had Drake as a better pro over Henry, and I think Michel is going to be a better pro than Nick Chubb. But that rounds out my top 5: Barkley, Geis, Penny, Michel, and Johnson.
I guess the better question is how many damn running backs are going to be drafted out of the championship game? You said Harris is coming back, but what's Bo Scarborough's situation? I forgot. Bo Scarborough, I thought was going to be the man.
Yeah, he has declared, so he will be entering the draft.
He just kind of became the forgotten man a little bit to me on that Alabama team. But yeah, so how many guys are going to come out as running backs in the NFL this year in the draft from that championship game between Georgia and Alabama?
Well, now that Damian Harris is returning to Bama, 3, you're going to get Chubb, Michel, Scarborough drafted.
No. Wow. And people thought that Alabama didn't deserve to be in the championship. They always deserve to be in the playoff because they have the most 5-star recruits on their team forever, always. So, but thanks for the question, guys. That's just a little taste of NFL draft. We're glad you guys think so much of our site and our opinions and our coverage to ask us this in the first week of January. So we'll keep it coming. Appreciate it. That last one again, Gilly Stevens. Thanks for the question. What we're gonna do next is move on to the NBA when we come back next. You are listening to and watching My Fantasy Podcast from MyFantasySportsTalk.com. Give it up. It's 2018. This is season 3 of the podcast. That's what I'm talking about. Episode 1. And now it's NBA time. And now it's Grizzlies time. Grizzlies playing right now. Hey, let me get your take on this real quick before we get into the question. Let me ask Orlando. Orlando, check it out. I'm playing daily fantasy right now on DraftKings. Tonight, I got Tyreek Evans, Jimmy Butler, Wilson Chandler, Draymond Green, John Henson, Andrew Wiggins, Etuan Moore, and Joe Harris. Am I going to win money?
I know Draymond has a pretty good matchup. So does Jimmy Butler. And a lot of those values have been dropping down too. So you should win some money. How do you usually play? Is that what you do? You just take the top guys? Because I know you've had some questions about playing daily fantasy too, but I don't know what your strategy going into it.
Well, I'm going to tell you what my new strategy is. I hit a really big stretch, a really good stretch here in the last month or so. It's kind of toned down a little bit, but my strategy was, first of all, look for the games that are going to be the highest scoring and take the 2 best players on those teams. So, for example, the Lakers were scoring a lot. I was taking like Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, Brandon Ingram, a combination of those guys. On the Clippers, I was taking like Blake Griffin, Lou Williams. You know, if you're talking about the Rockets, take maybe Chris Paul and James Harden. But anyway, a combination of working, taking the 2 best players on these teams. Another good one would be Minnesota by taking Jimmy Butler and
Wiggins.
Cat. Cat. So that's kind of been my strategy of late, and it's kind of worked out because, you know, if it's going to be a fairly high-scoring game and you take 2 studs, one of them is probably going to go off. I just usually can't afford both Cousins and and the other big guy, New Orleans. The name just slipped my head. What's the other dude's name? Yeah, Davis. Yeah, I usually can't afford both of them, but that's kind of been my strategy of late. So tonight I'm kind of doing that because Andrew Wiggins has been picking it up. So I got Butler and Wiggins. And then Tyreek is just a must play now. His daily fantasy dollar amount's finally gone up. But as Dan Schalk knows, Tyreek has been killing it because he's really
available for trade in our fantasy league. If you guys want to send me best offer will get him.
There you go. So we'll see how that works out for me tonight. But I've been trying, man. I just want to hit it big one time. Can I just win 40,000 real quick? Man, 40,000 would change my life real quick. I'm gonna pay off some student loans and some other stuff. Man, this one time. So we'll see if it happens tonight. I may not be on the podcast next week. I'll be spending money. So the first question comes from Lamont Egan. Wants to know, do the Grizzlies risk bringing Conley back this season? I say no, 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 no. No way. That's Lamont Egan. So I think it's just too early to tell right now. I don't know which way to go with this because technically they're only 8 games out of a playoff spot, and really they're only 10 or 11 games out of the 6th spot or 5th spot in the West. So it's not over, but it ain't going so well, man. It's I talked about Marc Gasol. I'm almost done with Marc Gasol. I really don't care if you trade him or not at this point. Whatever you think is best. But I really want to see Mike Conley come back this year just for Mike Conley. I need to see him play. I need to see him get stronger. I need to see him be better. You can't be scared of injury all the time. It's just we paid him way too much money, and I love the dude, but I want to see him play. I really don't care what our record is. I want him to be out there and getting better and stronger and building chemistry with his team, or else it's going to be the same situation next year. So word is they're probably not looking to trade Marc Gasol by the deadline. And Dan even brought up something to me that he's heard that I did not hear. And that was the possibility of trading Tyreek. And why was that, Dan? Do you think you can get a lot for him now? Or, I mean,
his value is so high and they're on a losing team. You can recoup maybe a lottery pick or something like that, or a young player in return, for the rebuild. Because basically I think it was, the Grizzlies are about to go through a major rebuild was basically what the premise was behind it.
And that's why I'm afraid of the Marc Gasol trade a little bit, because I think teams are going to try to stiff us because they know, we're in rebuilding mode and we really kind of need to unload Marc Gasol. And if it keeps going this way, maybe Marc Gasol wants to be out of Memphis. So I don't know. This thing could go a lot of different ways right now, a lot of different ways. But I'm not totally writing off the playoffs this year. Not that I really care. Not that we're not going to beat the Rockets or the Warriors. Probably even Orlando, San Antonio Spurs. We're not going to go very far. The team is just not like that. But I just don't want to see this end like this year. I'm not prepared for that. But on the other hand, you're giving up that high lottery pick if you keep winning. So I don't know. Orlando, what would you do if this was your Spurs? I mean, say you still had Tim Duncan, okay? Parker was hurt. Now, we're talking about the heyday here, okay? You counted on both those guys heavily. Your team was tied for last in the West, and Parker is still projected to be out a month or so, and Tim Duncan's not happy the team's not winning. What would you want to see happen? Would you risk Tony Parker coming back? Would you be looking for a trade? Would you just pack it up and wait till next season? I mean, put yourself in my shoes right now.
Yeah, no, I know that's tough. Depending on how serious the injury, because I know with Conley it's an Achilles. So I get your point, but at the same time, you kind of don't want to rush a guy. I totally get where you come from, but I think you kind of got to hold it out. I know you want to see Conley going back there. As for me to answer your question, I will kind of hold it out. Just to not further the injury. And you look at Conley, you bring him back too soon. You just don't want to damage that, or I know we all want to see him out there. The money they gave him, and his injury happened early in the season. So it's tough, but I would take my time with Conley. I would agree with Lamont. I wouldn't want to bring him back right away.
Yeah, maybe wait till the All-Star break, but I'm afraid what our record may be at the All-Star break at this point. So, like I said, I just want to see him out there, but at this point, the winning games may be costing us, to be honest with you. I mean, why keep the streak alive? Because no one's beating Golden State. This Grizzlies team for sure ain't beating Golden State, Houston, or probably San Antonio or Minnesota for sure. So why do it, man? It's a tough situation to be in, and I don't really know how it happened. I really don't.
Remember how good they were to start the year?
Number one team in the power ranking.
You had some excitement. You had like Orlando excitement when Tim Duncan was still playing, and
what happened?
Then it just kind of, Fizz went out the window, and Fizdale went too. You get that?
What happened? I'm still asking you guys what happened. I just can't figure it out. So, but anyway. Thanks for the question. Another Grizzlies fan submitting questions to the podcast, Lamont Egan. Thanks. The last one from the NBA. This one comes from Odessa Thompson. Well, I kind of spoiled that. I spoiled that. So here's the question as it reads. Has Luke Walton lost the locker room from LiAngelo Ball? LOL, just kidding. This is really Odessa Thompson. Don't even get me started. And Dan's sending me links to some stupid ass
Lithuania
game.
Did you watch?
I watched because it was on Facebook. I didn't watch. I watched the intro. I watched the first 5 minutes.
Balling.
Oh my god! I want to know? Did you see LiAngelo Ball miss a wide open fast break layup? And
no, but
dude is an NBA prospect.
I saw him chuck a couple passes into the stands. He had 6 turnovers. But the Ball brothers combined for 29 points and a W.
In a church league. Seriously, Dan, you watch this game, right? This is a church league. This is a decent church league in the United States. No better.
I don't know what kind of church leagues you have in Wiener, Arkansas, but let me tell you this.
I'll tell you what, we got superstars on The Bachelor.
Be able to handle the Ball brothers.
Superstars on The Bachelor. We're bigger than that. We got superstars on The Bachelor, which is
Tia from The Bachelor.
That's right. Dan watches religiously on that.
Oh God, I hate my life.
Okay. But I did see LaMelo's first time he touched the ball. He jacked up a 27-foot shot, and that's what LeVar got. It was way off.
Well, he's cold at that point. He's trying to get.
He does. That's like LeVar got pissed in AAU games and other coaches in Chino Hills because the coach didn't allow LaMelo to keep doing that.
Because if that first shot goes down, he's about to go for 90.
Oh my God, that's the stupidest thing
about to go for 90.
Okay, well, whatever. You do realize that LeVar Ball has now criticized every single coach that any of his sons have ever played for. You realize that, right?
Yeah, they're not BBBs, man.
No, they're not BBBs. And the BBB says BBB ain't even BBB. The BBB says BBB is F. And I agree. And I have several words that F stands for. Man, I can't say anymore. I'm just gonna have to let this play out. Y'all just have to wait and see. This thing is gonna ride about a 2-year stretch, and then when everyone figures out Alonzo Ball is the only one with NBA talent in the Ball family, and LeVar's act just gets old, and there's no more Lithuania League to play on Facebook. Then it's gonna die out. It's just gonna die out. And
120,000 people on at a time watching that game.
It was nuts, but it was also in the daytime, and it was on Facebook. Everybody's got Facebook. That's just a little skewing it. If you put that on cable at the same time on the NBA channel, they're getting maybe 40,000 people, maybe watching that game. So those numbers are a little bit skewed. Orlando, what's your take on this? I'll admit, damn. There was over 100,000 people watching at one time, and I'm flabbergasted. Orlando?
Yeah, no, I don't know if Luke Walton's lost the locker room just yet. I know the whole thing with LeVar is a lot to take in for him. I know, a lot of times in those after game interviews when he's asked about Lonzo or LeVar, you could tell, he wants to say more than what he says, but it was good to see them not lose 10 in a row because I think that would have really caused a lot of stuff going down there in LA. But as long as LeVar's there, I think you're going to continuously see problems within those two, the Walton and LeVar running his mouth. So I think he's going to have to learn how to just deal with it. And as long as the Lakers come and defend Walton, it should be okay. But this whole thing with LeVar and even Alonzo, when they ask him questions about what's going on, he's not even answering them fully. So it's kind of a weird thing going on, and it's going to be a crappy situation to be in if you're Luke Walton.
Yeah, it's going to end badly, and it's going to end with Lonzo getting traded. Mark my words, because Magic runs that team, and he's not going to keep putting up with this crap. They already traded D'Angelo. Lonzo is not above being traded. Kyle Kuzma's the best rookie on the team to begin with. So if LeVar doesn't shut his mouth and just play dad in the stands, then he's going to be sitting courtside in Utah, and that's probably not going to be very fun for LeVar Ball. So watch out. I'm just saying it's going to end to Lonzo getting traded. And then there goes that fantasy world of running the Lakers that LeVar had in mind, because his last son to make the NBA is already in the NBA. in my opinion. But keep watching your Facebook videos. It's riveting stuff. The last question. Let's see. Who is this? Where did it back up? Where did this question come from? Or what number is it, Dan? I lost myself. Oh, yeah. George King III. Chicken and waffles or chicken and biscuits? See, this is a weird question for me because I'm aware of the chicken and waffles thing, but I always thought it was kind of weird. But here's the thing. Chicken goes with everything. So if you want to eat chicken with waffles, that's fine. Me personally, I'm more of a pancakes fan than waffles. Never been a huge waffle guy. Take it or leave it. So, but chicken goes with everything. Chicken and biscuits, I guess, to be honest. In my household, when I fry up some hot wings or chicken of any kind, I usually make biscuits with it. I'm not necessarily putting the two together, but I think biscuits goes well with chicken. But again, chicken goes well with everything. Orlando, what do you think here? You got a favorite? Or are you a chicken and waffles fan? Or what do you make of this question?
Yeah, no, chicken and waffles fan. Funny story. Actually, when Kawhi got hurt in game 1 against the Warriors, I went ahead and did something pretty unhealthy because I was so depressed. I went ahead and had a beer and had a good piece, maybe like 8 or 9 ounce piece of chicken breast, and put it in between 2 waffles and ate it as a sandwich with some syrup on top. Because that's how depressed I was.
KFC stuff right there. That's
so chicken and waffles. I got to go with chicken and waffles.
There you go. For me, it's interesting. Like I said, chicken goes with everything, but it's not my first choice. I'm just not a huge waffles fan. I like them, just not my first fan. I'd rather have some hot cakes or some pancakes. Dan, what do you make of this question?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but up here we have a lot of fancy restaurants that try and be all fancy, and one of them on the menu, they got chicken and waffles, and I got it, and it was good. It definitely was good. Good fried chicken, nice and tender. But it's the syrup that gets me. It just makes it a little bit too sweet for me. It's got that sweetness. I'm more of a spicy guy, like that spice to cut through. So it was good. But if we're talking chicken and biscuits, I'm kind of with you, Brandon. I wasn't too sure what this meant. Now, whenever I think biscuits, I think like some country gravy or some southern gravy on the biscuits, and maybe dip some chicken in with that. I'm down with that. I would do that all day. But I like biscuits and I like chicken. So I think I'll side with the chicken and biscuit side. That's what I'm going to go with.
Yeah, like I said, just not a huge. I could take waffles or leave them. I don't know how that even became a combo. I mean, who thought of mixing those two together? But like I said, chicken does go with everything to me. But to me, it's more of a because when I cook chicken or fry chicken, it's usually hot, spicy, hot wings or just hot chicken marinated in something hot and spicy. So I almost need the bread. I don't put it together. I just almost need the bread to sop up the hotness and absorb some of that heat in my mouth. And it's a perfect combo. So that's the way I'm going to go with it. But interesting question. Y'all keep the foodie questions coming all year long, season 3 of the podcast, and we'll keep answering them. It's a great way to end the podcast and for you to get to know us a little bit better. And maybe plan some recipes together. Maybe we should get together and have a cookout or something and take all the recipes from everything that everyone recommends to us. And we'll just have a feast, a fiesta. That's it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening and watching last season and joining us this year for episode 1, season 3, 2018. Look for big changes on the website. A little refreshed, a little bit more tightness, as Dan said, on the website coming up. A little bit more tightness on the podcast. And no telling who's going to join us this year on the podcast. You got those crazies up in New York, Dan's neighbors, Dylan Davis Trotto and Ryan Thomas that'll join us from time to time. And maybe we'll bring some other guys in on the podcast all season long. So thanks for joining us. Until next week, see you later, folks. For Orlando, Torres, and Dan Chalk, I am Brandon Reid. Later. Peace.